Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, our dear viewers, and welcome to another episode on the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, coming to you from MTA International Gambia studios. If you will remember, in our last episode, we discussed, that was in this series called the third series of the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We discussed about the events that took place before the fighting in the Battle of Badr. And inshallah, today we will continue on those events, and as well we will talk about the fight in the Battle of Badr itself. And in subsequent episodes, we will talk about as well the treatment of those people who were captured in the Battle of Badr, and that is the Meccans, and what happened to them as well. To help me discuss this topic today, I have in the studio two gentlemen. On my immediate right, we have Brother Musa Kinte, who is a retired custom officer. Brother Musa, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And on his right, we have another familiar face on this program, that is Ustaz Almami Balajo, who is a missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. Ustaz Balajo, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Brother Musa Kinte, in our last previous episode, we discussed the events that took place on the 17th of Ramadan, and that was the exact day that the battle took place between the Muslims and the Meccans. That is the first battle called the Battle of Badr. We talked about also as well incidents that took place there, like those people who were sent out by the Prophet ﷺ to gather some intelligence about the Meccan army, who returned, and they had an agreement with they were forced into an agreement by the Meccans that they will not fight them in the Battle of Badr if they were released. And the Prophet ﷺ, when they came back, he said, go and fulfill your promise. And then another incident as well was when the Meccans wanted to take water from, or drink water from the well that was on the side of the Muslims, and they wanted to stop them, but the Prophet ﷺ said, allow them to drink. You know, that is part of what the Prophet ﷺ has done in the Battle of Badr. In the face of death, he was even lenient to those who came to fight him and bent on wiping out Islam and every Muslim on earth. Today we will talk about, in the last episode as well, we were more concentrated on what was happening in the Muslim camp than what is happening in the Meccan side. But today we will talk about what was happening in the Meccan side. And we know that they sent a guy called Omar bin Wahab to go and do some scouting about the Muslim army. How did he do that, and what was his report?
If you will pardon me, I just want to add a word onto our introductory to the last episode about keeping, watching over your vows. You know, even if you made a vow with your worst enemy, there couldn't be an enemy worse than the Quraysh who were bent on not just in wiping out Islam. They were thirsty for the blood of the Prophet and his Sahabi. But even then, because the two scouts that went to look at the Meccan preparations against the Muslims made a vow, although I said in our last episode that that vow could have been dismissed as having made under duress, like they were compelled. But even then, the Holy Prophet said, you must observe this vow. You cannot fight against the enemy once you have made that vow. So it shows how solemn the vow of a Muslim is supposed to be. So that is the standard that he has set for us. Yes, similarly, like this happens in warfare, that you will want to know the state of readiness of the adversary, like the person you're up against, so that you know how you should also prepare yourself to defeat that enemy. So similarly, the Meccan army also sent some people to do, like I use that military term, recce. You know, that they come to do a reconnaissance of the whole situation and then report back. Yes, Umar was sent. Umar will have to come and do that for the Meccans. When he came, he went around and saw the state of readiness of the Muslims. And he was, he said he was overawed, he was, overcome with the kind of determination, if anything, the resolve that he saw on the face of the Meccans, of the Muslims, sorry, yeah. And their readiness to face all consequences. So when he went, he reported it exactly the same way. He told the leaders, the chiefs of Mecca, that what I saw, I saw people, what I saw on camels was death. Mm-hmm. He said people who were ready to lay down their lives. They were that determined. And nothing can change it. So it was like death riding on the back of camels. He said that's what he saw. So when he gave them such a graphic picture of what he saw, it actually started, taking effect on some of these believers of Makkah, mm-hmm. that they were a bit afraid that, it was not going to be easy as they had thought. Mm-hmm. And in that apprehension, some of them decided to, see how best they do this.
They avoid the battle.
To avoid the battle.
Exactly.
Yes, and it was said that, he said he has, first of all, he has not seen any hidden reinforcements. Yeah. Like there was, all they saw, all what they are seeing are the total number of
the
Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the determination, their readiness. And he said, and Hakim, had his Umayr's opinion. And when he had that one, it is Hakim bin Hizam. He frantically came to Utbah bin Rabia and started discussing with Utbah, mm-hmm. that why don't we do one thing? He advising Utbah, he said, the whole war, this whole battle is about basically one thing, that Amr bin Hadrami, is the one we are trying to, whose death we are trying to avenge from the Holy Prophet ﷺ and his people. Why don't we just take blood money and let this matter go to rest? He said, if you are able, talking to Hakim, that if you are able to convince the Meccans to walk away, and go and demand for blood money and put this matter at rest, you will be remembered as one of the best of us. Exactly. So that was something, he said, you will be forever known by a good name. Mm. These are the exact words he used.
So that information, or that information reached Utbah from Hakim, who heard it just from Umar, the report of Umar.
Yes.
And I think why they did that as well was it sent a wave of fear into the hearts of the non-believers, that is the Meccans.
Yeah.
But Ustaz Balajo,
Utbah himself was very much afraid when he had this picture. So
Ustaz Balajo, we know that when Hakim went to Utbah, and then the message will later on reach to Abu Jahl, can you tell us what happened there?
Okay. Interestingly, when Hakim have this conversation with Utbah, then Utbah understood. He said, well, you have said something which is a matter of, it deserves pondering over. Mm-hmm. He said, no, why can't you now go on and relate this to Abu Hakam, they used to call him, mm-hmm. who is Abu Jahl. He said, even these people are our brothers and fathers and uncles. It is not right to fight between one another, the same family. That is what Utbah even advised Hakim. He said, it is interesting point that you have brought up. Mm. Now you should go and tell Abu Hakam about this matter. So when Hakim reached Abu Jahl, then he also heard what message is down there. He also heard it well. He said
he was told about the opinion of Utbah himself.
Of Utbah himself. So when the message was then relayed to Abu Jahl about the opinion of Utbah, he also understand. He said, well, we will see about that one. Then Utbah have the other side. When he was on the other side, he was trying to convince the Quraysh not to launch an attack, trying to convince them, mm-hmm. not to attack the Muslim camps. Hence, they are all of the same relative, and they should disperse and go back home without fighting with them. He said, not that I am, you may call me as a coward, but I perceive what you people have not seen. Inni aramara tarawna. Even if you are going to call me a coward, because I see people who are determined to die. That is the Muslim camp. So instead of facing those people, dead, we fight with the dead. What is the reason behind that? So that is what happened there. Then Abu Jahl will have his own tactic also, what he's going to play later on to convince again, and then to do something which will make Utbah feel somehow to defeat his kind of side, that he will show again some sort of courageousness, that what Abu Jahl is thinking about him, it is not that. Then there he will call his family, close friend, close family, his brother Shaiba, he called his brother Shaiba, and then his own son Walid. Then they should come out first and start to have a contact with the Muslim force.
Yeah, he basically maybe wanted to prove that he is not a coward like Abu Jahl and others may have thought about him. But even when he was going around their camp, their side of the people, to relate to them what his opinion is, the Holy Prophet ﷺ saw him at a distance and said, if there is any person who possesses a portion or certain amount of nobility, is that man riding on that red camel?
Sure.
On that red camel. So that was also the opinion of the Prophet ﷺ about Utbah himself.
Yes, and he also shows that this opinion of the Holy Prophet also shows that it is not the intention of the Prophet and the Muslim to start the fight. Exactly. What he wished was to anything that can get this thing terminated. But these people are already hell-bound to have a confrontation with the Muslim just to wipe them out.
Exactly.
And that is also not all of them per se.
Mr. Kinte, when that message reached the opinion of Hakim and that of Utbah, you know, when it was relayed to Abu Jahl, you know, he called the brother of Hadrami, Amr, the brother of Amr Hadrami, called Amir Hadrami, and then he told him, did you hear what Utbah has been saying? And what was his response?
You mean what was Amir's response?
Yes.
He said, Wa Amr, Wa Amr. That is, woe betide Amr, woe betide Amr, for his death will not be avenged. You know, of course, it's, you know, it's Arabs call the culture of the Arabs, that if you do not avenge the death of your lost brother, you know, who has been wrongfully killed, his soul will not know any rest. So that means he will be tormented because his death has not been, you know, an unjustified death that he has faced has not been avenged. And he went further to express this frustration and desperation through another cultural show of theirs. In their culture also, they tear their clothing to show that desperation, you know, and that, you know, craving for vengeance. So he did exactly that to expose his body, and that has infuriated the Quraysh so much, you know. So their sympathy was won by Amir, you know, bin Hadrami, and that was when the battle cries, you know, rose, that there is no way this could have been given. But it was not anything surprising to the Muslims, because Abu Jahl has this, you know, pharaonic approach to things, you know, the arrogance and the you know, perceived importance that he has imposed on himself. There is no way he was going to back down. So that ploy actually worked very effectively, you know, in pushing them to move forward. All this while, of course, the Holy Prophet was, you know, arranging the Muslims, you know, in their battle arrays, you know, so that they will be able to face the onslaught of the Quraysh. It was in that period that they heard this, noise, and they knew that they were already attacking even before they finished preparing themselves. Yeah, so that was what happened immediately after.
So, Ustaz Alman Balaji, you were talking about this guy called Utbah, and just before the individual fighting took place, that was triggered by the cry of Amr and his stripping of his clothes. And then Utbah, not wanting to be seen as a coward, he stepped forward and called as well his immediate family members, that is his brother and then his son. That was as well maybe just to show that he is not a coward and there is no member of his family who is a coward. But the things later on what we see will turn out to be a disaster for that family. What happened in the individual fighting? Okay,
there too, you see, like you just said, it's very interesting. Then another interesting part is some people in the Quraysh army, they are not ready for this fight from the inception. There are some people, some chieftains who are having this hatred, special hatred against the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. So they are the people who they are the spirit behind the movement of the Quraysh. However much you want to stop this fight, you cannot do anything about it. Understand? Like Utbah, that was his stand, and the Hakim, when they heard about the preparation of the Muslims and their activities over there. So now, and then Utbah now has to stand up to call his relative, to show to the people that it is not because of fighting that I am afraid of, but it is the consequence afterward, aftermath consequence, that's what I'm afraid of. So that's why he showed to the people that I'm going to call even my close relatives, that is my brother Shaiba and my own son Walid. So they have to come out first to show to the people that we are ready to fight these Muslims. Then what happened was, then when that scenario happens, some Ansari brothers, they want to come out to challenge them. Then the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent them back. He said, no, he sent them back first. Then they are on the other side of the camp, that is the Qurayshi side, the disbeliever side, they cried out loudly. He said, are they our equals? Are they not our equals? Yeah. That is our cousin brothers of the Abdul Muttalib side. They considered even the people of Medina as inferior to them, because they used to look at those people as mere farmers. Yeah. Later on, even in the death of Abu Jahl, he would mention that. Yeah, that is it. So when that happened, then the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also called his paternal uncle Hamza, Hadrat Hamza radiallahu anhu, and Hadrat Ali and Hadrat Ubaidullah radiallahu ta'ala anhum. He said, why the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose these three people, also to show to the other brothers of the Muslim, that is the Ansaris, that if it is going to be sacrifice, I'm going to start it from my own family members, not necessarily you people. So that's what happened. They have one-to-one, how do you call it? Confrontation. Fighting. Yeah, individual confrontation. Hadrat Hamza met with Ubaidullah, Utbah himself, that is the father. Yeah. And then the brother, Shaiba met with Ali, and Walid with Walid, Ubaidullah with Walid. So Hamza killed Utbah, and Hadrat Ali killed his other counterpart, Shaiba. Exactly. But Ubaidullah also succumbed some injuries by this Walid. As a result of which both of them, they all succumbed to some injuries. But on the way back to Medina, Ubaidullah has to pass away on the journey back to Medina after the battle.
So eventually, that was Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Hamza. They came after Walid and also killed him. Yeah. Yes.
And finished him off. But as he said, this Ubaidah had already had injuries that he will not survive. That would just be the cause of his death. Yes, and as well, he was martyred in the battlefield. So, Brother Musa Kinde, now we have seen that the battle have actually started with individual fighting.
Yes.
So immediately when Ubaidah was taken back to the Muslim camp, and then the Meccans came to drag their dead bodies back to their camp, then they launched a sudden attack against the Muslims. But the Prophet ﷺ, before he retired to his tent, he has given as well specific orders to the Muslims that they should not attack until he give them an order. So even when the Meccans were coming, the Muslims were still stationed, but then the Prophet ﷺ would even have to come out and, you know, give them an order that they should launch as well an attack. They should repel the attack of the Quraysh. So what happened later on after the individual fighting and the?
Well, first of all, he told them to use arrows. And not their swords until actually the two armies engage each other, you know, physically. So they started with, shooting at them with arrows first, and then the actual encounter happened. What you see, this shows you how, obedience, under all circumstances is very important. How leadership is important, how proper planning is important, how you need the support of God, and how, as followers, you must absolutely, follow the instructions of the leader. If you're explaining this, people from a military background listening to this program will understand exactly that it did not start with Western armies. If anything, this was borrowed from the spiritual field, where, God out of his wisdom equipped his messengers with that understanding of strategy of war, and has inspired their followers with that love and humility and obedience to authority, that we see demonstrated everywhere. If it happens in any arena of human strife, the result is always victory. So that is what has been manifested here, that everybody saw. Some people actually acclaimed what has happened, And I don't know if I'll be skipping the whether I'll be skipping the something. If I start talking about, but maybe that will come at the tail end. What happened after they have the battle and how the prisoners were treated? Maybe that's the tail end of it. But we'll come to the two young men who were with Abdurrahman bin Auf. Were standing on the left and right of him. They were very young, and he even called them children. And he said when they saw him, his heart sank.
When he saw that?
When he saw the two of them flanking him.
Yeah.
Because he said, you're as good in the battlefield as those who you have on your flanks. Because your enemies will not always attack you from the front. They'll come from your flanks. So you need to watch your flanks and ensure that you are secure on those sides. And what happened is when he looked to his left and right, he was dismayed. He was like, he said, well, here will be trouble because my flanks are not covered. But he was surprised, when one of them came close to him and whispered. It's amazing. And he asked he said he would like Abraham Auf to indicate who in the enemy's ranks is Abu Jahl. He said, because this is a man who tormented the Prophet a lot. And before I left my house, I was determined that I was going to be the one who will take his life. So just as that man finished, the other man on the rank also said the same thing.
The other boy.
The other boy. Well, they're in the battlefield. I don't like to, but then they were too young.
Yeah.
The youngest among them all, and they were in their teenagers, so nobody would expect them to be. So when they told him this, he really was afraid for them, because he saw Abu Jahl flanked by experienced, and battle-hardened warriors, and he saw this inexperience of these two young boys and thought this is like suicide. This is going to be, walking into the jaws of death. But the determination in the two young men defied everything that he was thinking. Mm-hmm. He said he decided to point at Abu Jahl. Once he pointed, before even his hand went down, the two young men pounced on Abu Jahl like some wounded lions. And it was so swift that even those who were standing guard with all their experience and expertise, they were taken by so much surprise that before they could defend themselves, it was done, the damage was done. The two young men went on Abu Jahl, and he was on the ground mortally wounded. Mm-hmm. So that was the amazing thing in the battle, that when you hear it, it moves you.
And the moment they killed him, they will go back to the Prophet ﷺ and tell him.
And tell him, of course.
We have killed Abu Jahl.
I don't know whether it was because of the surprise of the Prophet ﷺ. He had to send someone to go and look, actually, to confirm whether definitely he died.
Abu Jahl is dead or not.
Yes, and interesting story, And like you said, this bit you said, before he gave his last breath, he said it would have been like he would have wished he was killed by someone else who is not a farmer. Mm. So see the arrogance in the guy. Even at the point of death. He was wishing that he would not be killed by ordinary farmers. Mm-hmm. He should be killed by some nobility or some great warrior. Mm-hmm. But that was how God had to reduce him to dust.
Thank you very much, Brother Musa Kinte. Brother Almani Balajo, now let's talk about another influential person in the Meccan army who was also killed, and that was Umayyah ibn Khalf. Can you tell us just a little brief about just how he was killed in brief, because time is already up.
That is on our side. Okay, I will be brief in that one also. Like just I will make it like a very brief, of course. Like when Abraham bin Auf went to scout about this Abu Jahl's killing, he found him lie down, somehow lifeless, and then he expressed these wordings. But later on, he asked, who won the battle? He said, who won the battle? Then when they told him it was the Muslims, that was the last thing he has had. And then he also noticed that actually they have lost the battle. Then again, we proceeded to what you have just mentioned, Umayyah bin Khalf. Umayyah bin Khalf was also killed in this battle. So he has a sort of brotherhood with one of the Muslim brothers. Is Abraham bin Auf?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Abraham bin Auf, they were having some kind of pact that the property that I have in Makkah, you protect it for me. And the other one said, now you also, the property I have in Medina, you can protect it for me. Mm-hmm. But when they were having that discussion, then they all retired. When the army somehow relaxed, and somehow darkness had just somehow prevailed, he was sitting somewhere. Then Abraham bin Auf was there with him. There Hazrat Bilal spotted him from afar. He told some Ansaris that there is Umayyah and he's about to escape. Mm-hmm. Then let us go for him. There they went for him. Hazrat Abraham bin Auf tried all his best because they have a pact that he's going to protect him, sort of. Mm-hmm. And then even that protection, he could not able to escape. And then he succumbed to death on that very battle by the Ansari brothers and of course with Hazrat Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was also a former slave of Umayyah bin Khalf, who tortured him severely and mercilessly.
Yeah, even in the process of Abdurrahman bin Auf trying to fulfill his promise, he have to sustain some injuries that he will even later on show to the people that I received this injury because I was trying to protect.
Mm-hmm. You see, it's an expression of the integrity that the Prophet and his followers had. Here is your enemy, and here are your blood brothers in Islam. And Hazrat Bilal being one of them who seriously suffered, from the hands of this fellow that you have had a pact with. But all the same, he thought it was his duty to honor his word. He thought this was a matter of integrity that he should ensure that he tries his best to protect him, even if he was going to be wounded. And of course, that is what happened by his own colleagues in the process of protecting somebody because of a pact.
Thank you very much, brothers. Viewers, this is all time allowed us. We were today talking about the Battle of Badr, and we have heard just what our panelists have said. If you want to read more about the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, you can visit our website, that is www.alislam.org. You will have so many books to read about the life and character of Muhammad ﷺ. So this is all time allowed us from us MTA Gambia International. We say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salli ala mubinina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala nabiyyina, salli ala Muhammadin.